In order to make your postpartum underwear, you're going to open up the underwear, you're going to stick a pad to it, and then on top of that pad, you can line 2 or 3 of the witch hazel pads to help bring you some comfort and relief. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Birth Lounge podcast. All right, you guys, today it's just me. It's a solo cast. It's just you and I hanging out, no guests, nobody else to chat with, just me, myself, moi, and you. And I wanted to talk to you about postpartum prep. If you scroll back a couple episodes, I actually talked to you about birth prep, making your birth plan, things that I would do if I were planning an unmedicated birth, things that I would plan if I was planning to have an epidural. And so I thought, how appropriate would it be to start to help you prepare for postpartum? Now, in all transparency, obviously, I can't prepare you for every single thing in a quick podcast episode. However, the place I do that is in the Birth Lounge membership. So inside the Birth Lounge, which is a monthly membership, or we have the lifetime option, there's actually an entire module that has many videos on how to prepare yourself, your body, your mind, your home, your partner, the systems within your house to welcome a baby and help make that transition as easy as possible. I also talk a lot about it inside the Birth Lounge app, which is very different than the Birth Lounge membership. The app is filled with articles that are evidence-based, and all of the data and the science are linked for you, clickable links, so that you can see at any moment any of the data, the science, the evidence that I'm referring to. And they're quick, easy reads, easy digestible reads, so that you can ideally be sitting in the waiting room of your doctor's appointment and be searching up a topic and be able to scan over it and feel informed going in to have these questions. And that's going to be true of prenatal things, pregnancy things, postpartum things. So you can expect the same exact structure and format for every single post. That way, you know exactly where to find the information, you know exactly where to find the data, and you know exactly where to find the questions to ask your provider. Because yes, at the end of every single entry in the Birth Lounge app, I actually break down questions that you can take back to your provider to talk about the topic that you just read about. Sometimes, if it is a topic between you and your partner, then I'll have example questions of things that you two need to discuss to help you be prepared. The membership is for anyone globally, and we have people all over the world. Some people aren't yet pregnant. Some people are in their pregnancy, first, second, third trimesters, and some people have already gone through the Birth Lounge and are still hanging out in postpartum. So no matter where you are in this journey, you're not only around good company, but you've got someone that is right where you are. So you have a friend that understands where you are in the process, but also people who have gone before you that can help you understand what worked for them, what didn't work for them, what were some options that they explored, and what were some options that they wish they had known about. Plus, you obviously have all of the data inside of the Birth Lounge membership. And then for the Birth Lounge app, it is available for anyone with an Android or iPhone, and we'll link both of those links in the show notes so that you can download your evidence-based childbirth education anywhere that you are in the process to help you have an informed and confident birth. Now let's dive into postpartum. So I've broken this down into 4 different categories. I've got tools that will help you, health and nutrition, feeding your little one, and then sleep. Now, obviously, these are not the only things that are going to come up in postpartum, right? But what I will say is almost everything that comes up in postpartum is going to either fall into one of these buckets or be highly, highly, highly dependent or associated with one of these buckets. The one bucket that I don't have included, and I teach about it in the Birth Lounge membership, is your home systems. So this is thinking about the split in responsibility in your home. So for example, if you walk your dog every day, who's going to do that when you are 3 days postpartum? Not you. You're going to have to be resting. You're going to be in bed. You're going to be needing meals and water be brought to you, not the other way around. You'll be caring for a baby and probably won't have time to necessarily care for your dog. If you do the laundry drop off at the cleaners once a week, who will do that for the first 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks of postpartum, depending on how you have your baby? If you have a vaginal delivery, you shouldn't be driving for the first 2 to 4 to 6 weeks. If you have a C-section, you probably won't be driving for the first 8 to 12 weeks. So think about how the systems and the ongoings of your home are going to need to shift, and who exactly will you shift those responsibilities to? Sometimes it looks like shifting it to your partner, or maybe you have friends and family that are in the area. But another option is to hire out some help. So maybe you temporarily, for the first 3 months postpartum, hire a dog walker. Maybe you, instead of dropping off your laundry at the cleaners, you either sign up for the membership where they come and pick it up and drop it off at your house, or you change services where, you have a service where they come and pick it up. You could also do something that a lot of our clients do, and they hire a mommy's helper of sorts, or what is commonly referred to as a household manager. And this is someone who they typically work like in a certain number of hours each week. And so, for example, they may say, you get 5 hours of service each week, and within those 5 hours, you give them certain tasks. So maybe they do walk your dog, maybe they do take the laundry, maybe they're doing meal prep, or they're doing grocery store runs, maybe they are taking packages to the post office that you need to be taken, maybe they are just helping pick up your home. Each household manager is obviously going to have a variety of services that they offer. So make sure that you're looking into what is available in your area, how that fits into your budget, and what offers they have in terms of the help that they can bring to you in this immediate postpartum. That one obviously looks so different for everybody. A couple who is welcoming their first child is going to need a lot different help than someone who is welcoming, let's say, their 5th child. Whether you have family that are close by or no family at all will also make a difference, as well as just simple lifestyle things like income, where you live, access in your area, plus your personal comfort of having someone in your home to serve your family. On a very similar note, but different, is a postpartum doula. Now, some postpartum doulas will do things like run errands for you and meal prep, but not all will. So if you're comfortable with having someone in your home and you're looking more for someone to care for you and your baby, then really look into a postpartum doula. I'm obviously biased. I'm not going to pretend that I don't think doulas are the greatest thing next to sliced bread. But what I will tell you is that a doula can greatly, greatly, greatly improve your outcomes in postpartum, make it an easier transition, help you have the education and knowledge that you otherwise wouldn't, and just be a huge pivotal benefit for your family in this very transitional time. So, as you're thinking about what kind of help you're going to have in your home when you welcome your baby and how you're going to shift the responsibilities in the household systems, think about a home manager or a postpartum doula and welcoming those people into your home so that they can help support you during this time. All right, now on to my list that is pretty much the same for everybody. Now, these 4 buckets, they obviously look different for people, but in general, they are the same for each household. So let's start with postpartum preparation tools. These are going to be things around your house that are going to help make your postpartum journey easier. And when you think about tools in your home, you want to think about 2 things. A, ease of access, and B, mobility, meaning when you are freshly postpartum, especially in those first 14 days up to the first month, and depending on whether you have a vaginal or cesarean delivery, could be the first 6 weeks, you're going to want things within arm's reach. So think about having a diaper caddy or a postpartum cart. These are both things that I teach inside the Birth Lounge membership, and you can find a lot of examples on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest. They all have awesome examples of how you can not only stock your caddy and your postpartum cart, but how you can actually utilize those tools as well. What I will say is, if you live in a home like we do, we have 3 floors in our home. My preference and my plan is to have a postpartum caddy on each floor. That way, if the baby and I are hanging out on the first floor, within arm's reach or within that floor, I have a diaper caddy that has everything I need. And in 1 second, I'm going to tell you what you should stock on your diaper caddy and what you should stock on your postpartum cart. Now, you may not necessarily need a postpartum cart on every floor, but it is incredibly helpful to have a postpartum cart right by your bed. A caddy is going to be a smaller basket almost that you put diapers and wipes and onesies, any sort of creams for either your nipples or your baby's butt, pacifiers, spit up cloths, and anything else that you find that you use a lot. Maybe a sound machine, maybe a snot sucker, and maybe a swaddle. Now, when it comes to your postpartum cart, you're going to want it to be a little bit more in depth with what you stock. And instead of being primarily for the baby, it will be for you as well. So you're going to want to have the same things that you put in your diaper caddy. So diapers, wipes, pacifiers, butt paste, onesies, swaddles, spit up cloths. But in terms of packing it for you, you're going to want things like your big postpartum pads, your Silverette nipple cups, any sort of pumping tool, so your hand pump, I love the Lancino one, your passive collector, there's the HeHe, but I personally love the Lancino one. You're also going to want things like your water bottle and a nursing bra, a white noise machine, some snacks, maybe some electrolyte packets, more care tools for your nipples, so think wipes or creams, or breastfeeding pads, either disposable or reusable. And then some personal items like hair ties, chapstick, or under eye jellies if those are your thing. The point of having these caddies and postpartum carts around your home is the ease of access. While your body is healing both mentally and emotionally, but more so physically from having a baby, in addition to that, You are feeding this baby round the clock, many people from their own bodies. So, we really ideally want you to stay put. The goal is not to have you getting up every few minutes. The goal is to have you sit on the couch and then you really don't move for the next couple of hours. Or once you get in bed for the evening, you're kind of there until you need to get up and go to the bathroom next. Now, with that being said, I will remind you that getting up and doing a lap, if you will, so a short walk, try not to do stairs, but a walk from, let's say, your couch in your living room to the bathroom, to the kitchen to fill up your water bottle, and then back to the couch is a great way to keep your blood pumping and prevent blood clots postpartum. This is true for both vaginal and cesarean deliveries, but incredibly important if you do have a C-section. Other postpartum tools that you might want to think about in terms of bodily fluids coming out of you is, what will you wear on your downstairs? Now, obviously the hospital is going to send you home with those mesh underwear, but they won't last you the whole 6 weeks that you are bleeding, give or take some. Some people stop 2 to 3 weeks after birth, stop bleeding, and then some people are still bleeding at that 6 or 7 week mark. So what will you do to control that? Having some Depends or disposable underwear on hand can be really helpful. If you are more of a sustainable, eco-friendly, earth-conscious person, think about reusable period underwear, or there are specific postpartum reusable underwear. I personally love Nissa Care, and that is NYSSA Care, CARE. They make specific postpartum bleeding underwear that are good for vaginal deliveries and also C-section deliveries, because they actually have a place to put an ice pack or a heat pack right where your incision site will be. Now, for the first 7 to 10 days, those underwear are probably not going to be enough, so you are going to need those extra large maxi pads that I talked about putting on your postpartum cart. Another caddy that would be really helpful around your home is a bathroom caddy. And I do recommend having one of these caddies in every single bathroom, only because it can be really, really hard to need something while you're in the bathroom, not have access to it, and then have to yell across your house for someone to bring it to you, or even worse, have to get up while you're trying to care for your body while going to the bathroom to walk to a different bathroom, get the tools that you need, and then either finish in that bathroom or go back to the original bathroom. Now, a couple of things to consider putting in your bathroom caddy, and this is not an exhaustive list because everyone's list is going to be very individual, but I'll kind of holler out the things that come to my mind that should be in everyone's caddy, and then you can tailor it to what feels good to you. The extra large postpartum pads, the underwear, whether that's reusable or disposable, a perineal bottle. I personally love the Lancino one. It has a curved spout. It's thick plastic, so it keeps the water really warm. And I love that the spout goes in and out, so it's nice and compact for storage to put right in your caddy rather than having to stay really tall, so it's a little bit harder to store. Perineal spray, which Lancino does have as well. Wipes, so that you can pat, not wipe yourself postpartum. Witch hazel pads if you are still very swollen or need any sort of cooling or comfort down there. Another thing you can consider is the Dermaplast relieving spray, very similar to the witch hazel pads. I prefer the pads because you can actually lay them on the maxi pad that you use and it will stay put, whereas the spray obviously is limited in how much relief you're going to get. And so in order to make your postpartum underwear, you're going to open up the underwear, you're going to stick a pad to it, and then on top of that pad, you can line 2 or 3 of the witch hazel pads to help bring you some comfort and relief. You may decide too to add something like a sitz bath or padsicles to your postpartum bathroom caddy. Again, everyone's going to find what kind of works for them, but those are the basics that you need. The other set of tools that I would recommend having on hand and easily accessible in each of the rooms that you commonly hang out in. So let's say your bedroom, the living room, and maybe the baby's room is going to be feeding tools. So think again about having your breast pump, your hand pump, your passive collector, nipple care like the Silverette nipple cups, nipple balm, breastfeeding pads, either disposable or reusable, and then hot and cold packs. So Lancino has my favorite because they actually fit snug right over their hand pump, and theirs can go in the microwave to be warmed or in the freezer refrigerator to be cooled. So they're really a kind of double whammy, dual purpose ice hot pack. That kind of wraps it up for postpartum prep tools for you and your baby, but there is one other set of postpartum tools that I think are absolutely crucial, and this has to do with your baby's sleep. Now, I'm going to go into sleep specifically when we talk about bucket 4, but I wanted to give you a quick and dirty list of the tools that you'll need to properly support your baby's sleep, so you should definitely have them on hand. Number 1 is a swaddle that's going to provide them with the appropriate proprioceptive input while keeping their hips and their legs mobile. So that means it's tight on their shoulders, their chest, and their core, but it leaves their hips and their legs not tight. You want a white noise machine that is loud enough to fill the room, and you can consider putting one inside the room as well as right outside their door. Plus blackout curtains, and if you've decided that you want to introduce pacifiers, I personally love the MAM pacifiers. They are the best for oral development, and they're super easy for your baby to hold them in their mouth. Postpartum can be a time where you just feel really overwhelmed with the amount of things that are around your house. But I will tell you, a lot of these tools do make this journey easier. And so that's why I compiled my favorite list of postpartum tools. So that's the first bucket. All right, let me get real with you for a second when it comes to postpartum. I know postpartum is daunting and it probably feels like it's going to be a roller coaster, but if there's one thing that you deserve right now, it's comfort that doesn't compromise. And that's exactly why I am obsessed with Cozy Earth. Their bamboo pajamas, I talk about them all the time because they're buttery soft, breathable, and temperature regulating. So that's perfect for postpartum. Whether you're sweating through those night feeds or you're curled up for that sacred 20-minute nap, you are wrapped in luxury. And my favorite bonus, they're stretchy enough to be nursing friendly but cute enough so you won't feel like you've totally lost yourself in the yoga pant life. I have 4 pair of their PJs, 2 of their lounge sets, and their socks, both the ankle socks and the wool socks for these frigid Boston winters. And let's talk about their bedding. Cozy Earth sheets are like sleeping on a cloud made of cool silk, also temperature regulating. Just like the PJs, they are buttery soft, sustainably crafted, and I have found that they actually get softer with every wash. What more could you want? I swear, climbing into bed feels like a spa moment, and postpartum, you deserve that. If you're healing, leaking, nursing, or just trying to survive, surround yourself in something that makes you feel held and comforted. Cozy Earth is my go-to gift for every new mom friend, because when you're up all night, your sheets matter. You can try them risk-free for 100 nights with their sleep trial, and they come with a 10-year warranty. When you are well rested, you can show up more present and joyful for your family and your new baby. Prioritize yourself and your sleep in postpartum so that you can truly enjoy your transition to motherhood. Use my code HeHe, HeHe, for 40% off. Yes, a whopping 40% off your order at CozyEarth.com. That's right, nearly half off of the coziest investment that you'll ever make for your sleep, your sanity, and your self-care. Visit CozyEarth.com and use code HeHe. Visit CozyEarth.com and use my code HeHe because your fourth trimester should be soft, breathable, and guilt-free luxurious. On to the second bucket, which is health and nutrition. Now, let's be for real here. When you push out a baby, not only is your body going through a massive shift physically, but also emotionally, mentally. You're going to be losing a lot of blood, which is normal. But if you were to hemorrhage, now you've lost even more blood than what we expect and consider normal. And if you are breastfeeding or pumping, your body is also trying to not only replenish the blood that you lost, but also make breast milk. And in addition to all of that, you're doing it all on just a few hours of fragmented sleep. And this is why your health and nutrition postpartum is super important. Now, all the tools I just talked about, I talked about weeks 2 through 12. But your postpartum nutrition is actually super important for the duration of when you breastfeed and especially in those first 12 months. Your body, your uterus, is not going to return to its normal size until around that 12 to 18 months postpartum. So when I say that birth is a massive transition for your body, I mean it. Now, there are 3 things that we want to prioritize when it comes to health and nutrition during postpartum. Number 1 is protein, number 2 is fats, and number 3 is water. Now, I know when I say the word fats, people are like, fats, oh no, I'm trying to lose weight. I just gained all my weight in pregnancy. Let me tell you something. Postpartum is not the time for you to be focused on losing weight. Your body needs proper fuel. And if you don't give it that, you're going to see things that you don't want to see, complications that you don't want to experience. Things like your milk supply is not going to be nice and full and hearty. You might even experience your body not healing as well as you had expected. Your body has to be nourished in order for it to recover from the journey of childbirth. You have to think, it just grew a baby, birthed a baby, lost blood, and now is trying to not only put your organs back together, but keep you and that baby alive. Please nourish your body like she needs to be nourished. This means constantly eating. So you're going to find in postpartum that you're constantly hungry. This is not the time to be restricting the calories or the input that you are giving your body. However, it is the time to be very mindful of what you're putting in your body. You want to think about really highly nutrient foods, really densely packed foods, foods that are protein rich, whole foods. Stay away from refined sugars, artificial sweeteners, food dyes, and highly processed foods. Think more along the lines of fresh fruits and vegetables, red meat, fish, bone broth, avocados, beans, nuts, seeds. And when it comes to staying hydrated, consider sticking an electrolyte in your water, or there are a bunch of electrolyte drinks out there. But again, just be mindful of the ingredients and what you feel comfortable with consuming. Remember that everything that you eat, your baby is also eating. So just keep that in mind. The better nourished you are and the better hydrated you are, the better your body is going to be able to heal, which will make your milk supply fuller and heartier, I promise. Not only in your supply, but also in the fat content and composition of your actual breast milk. It can be really hard to remember to eat throughout the days in postpartum or simply find the time to do so because it seems like with a new baby, every single minute is accounted for and the time just passes by. You look down and oh my gosh, it's already been 45 minutes. It's time for me to put this child back to sleep. And so you may find that you go hours without eating. A couple of tips here. Consider meal prepping. Either you can do this or you can hire a service to do this. If you have someone that is in your home, set an alarm and have them bring you food throughout the day in almost a regimented schedule. So every 90 minutes to 2 hours, they're bringing you a snack, something like peanut butter and crackers, fresh fruit and string cheese, some nuts and seeds, along with a fruit juice, and maybe even some sliced avocado. Or if you're home alone by yourself, then set an alarm on your phone. Go ahead and meal prep these tiny snacks or easy grab and go snacks. And when your alarm goes off, make sure that you're eating even just a little bit. Your postpartum health and nutrition means so much for you and your baby in this transitional time. Alrighty, bucket number 3 is feeding this tiny little human. We talked about feeding you. Now let's talk about feeding your baby. Now, this can often feel like a conversation that is filled with judgment or is kind of hard for people to talk about. And I want to assure you before we dive into this, not only am I totally unattached with how you feed your baby, I'm just really proud of you for showing up to this conversation, thinking about how you're going to feed your baby, and going through the information to help you make the decision that's going to feel best for you and your baby. Everyone's feeding journey is a really incredibly individual experience, and I want you to lean into that because it can be really, really easy to slip into this narrative of, oh my gosh, well, I'm seeing all these people on social media do it this way, or I'm seeing all of these people pump this much and my boobs aren't doing that, or oh my gosh, I feel so much guilt because of the things that I see and I hear and people say to me about this particular feeding choice, and it's just really weighing on my mind. I want to relinquish you of any sort of guilt or ill feelings that you may have about yourself or the choices that you're making. If your baby is fed and happy and they have a mentally well mom, then you are doing an amazing job. One of the worst things that you can do for yourself and your baby is continue to go down a path that you know isn't healthy for you, which makes it not healthy for them, just at the expense of being able to say that you breastfed, or being able to say that they never had formula, or being able to say X, Y, and Z, whatever that is for you. So much of feeding our babies is dependent on our mental health. And so I want to really encourage you not to dismiss your mental health when it comes to your feeding journey and how you care for your baby. The second thing I want to tell you before we dive too far into this is that feeding your baby is a learning curve. While it is a natural thing, we've got to feed our babies, eating is natural, it's not a natural skill. And that's really hard for a lot of people to keep in mind, especially if you are feeding your first baby. You've got to pick up on their cues. You have to learn about your body and your boobs. Your milk supply is going to be being established. You've got to learn how to actually navigate this dynamic between your body, your breast, and your baby in order to feed them. And that may or may not include pumping, which is a whole other level. Now, if you're having your second baby, you have a little bit of experience and you kind of know what to expect. But let me tell you, each baby and each breastfeeding journey is a little bit different. So while you may go into it with a little bit more confidence and feeling like you have a little bit of knowledge that you're headed into this journey with, there will certainly still be things that didn't happen with your first baby that are first for you guys as well. Along the same lines as that, Breastfeeding should never be excruciating and painful. So, you should seek support if you are finding that you have a ton of unbearable nipple pain, if you're wincing every time that your baby is latching, if you find that your mental health is declining the further that you get into your breastfeeding journey, certainly seek support around that as well. If you think that you're experiencing something like low milk supply, check out episode 356, where I get to sit down with IBCLC Ashley Brown and we talk about, yes, low milk supply, but actually why so many women think they have milk supply issues and they really don't. Now, obviously, access across the US is different depending on where you live, but the good news is in 2025, virtual lactation support is almost accessible to every single person. I highly recommend seeking out IBCLC. So that's an international board certified lactation counselor in your area so that you can get some support around feeding your baby. IBCLCs will do prenatal consults to help you start to establish and understand the knowledge that you need to go into this experience. But more importantly, they do postpartum visits so that they can help you actually feed your baby once your sweet little one is on the outside. Or you can consider joining the Birth Lounge membership, where I teach you everything that you need to know of breastfeeding your baby. How do you establish a good, strong, healthy milk supply? How do we make sure your baby is transferring the appropriate amount of milk? Various breastfeeding tools, breastfeeding positions, troubleshooting, the variety of professionals that you may need to know about along your feeding journey, plus everything that you can imagine about pumping and storing your breast milk, including how to build a breast milk stash, i.e. that freezer stash that everybody wants. Our team also offers infant feeding support, and this is for parents who are breastfeeding, pumping, formula feeding, or doing a combination of any of those. One of the things that I hold to an incredibly high regard is making sure that I'm able to bring you information that is non-judgmental, non-biased, and evidence-based. And I would say, even if you don't hire our team to help you with feeding your baby, making sure that whoever you do hire is aligned with those thoughts and your goals and treating you with respect while also respecting your autonomy is of utmost importance. Ensuring that you are not being pressured into decisions that don't feel aligned to you is not exclusive to pregnancy and birth. It absolutely extends to postpartum in the way that your baby is cared for, in the way that you are cared for, and in the support that you receive around feeding your little one. Finally, I want to tell you about one of my favorite supplements to consider. Now, as always, I'm not a medical professional, so I'm not recommending this, but what I am recommending is that you look into it to see if it may be appropriate for you. And this supplement is actually a milk emulsifier. So it's going to take the fatty content of your milk and break it up so that your milk can more smoothly flow through your milk glands in your breast to help reduce the risk of clogged ducts, which then can lead to things like mastitis or further infection. So go ahead and take the time now while you're pregnant to prepare for how you're going to feed your baby, what types of challenges you may face, and what your options are in each of those scenarios. I promise you it will make postpartum so much easier if you do that prep work now. Oh, before we move on to the last bucket of infant sleep, I did want to mention two more things when it comes to feeding your baby. Number one, seek support at the first signs of a problem. At the first signs that your latch may not be correct, or you are having pain with breastfeeding, or you notice a tongue or a lip tie, or you feel like your supply may not be as abundant as you had hoped for or expected. Reach out to an IBCLC. Other people you may want to have on hand or at least know who is available in your area are going to be pediatric dentists who will help you with tongue and lip ties, as well as chiropractors in your area. Also can help you with tongue and lip ties, but they're also well versed in things like latch and painful breastfeeding. And number 2 is understanding problematic spit up and gastric issues. Be sure to check out episode 219 of the Birth Launch podcast, where I dive into baby reflux versus spit up, how to know the difference, when it becomes problematic, and what options you have around that. All right, now on to our very final bucket, which is sleep, both your sleep and your newborn sleep. So number 1, naps are key. And I know everyone says nap when the baby is napping, but this is actually much easier said than done. It just takes a mental shift of understanding that you getting sleep while your baby is sleeping is going to help your body heal. It's going to be beneficial for your mental health, and it's going to help your milk supply, because if your body is running off of cortisol and not well rested, then your milk supply is going to tank. However, getting dishes done while your baby naps is neither going to help your milk supply or help your body heal. However, I do recognize that having a dirty and cluttered home may hurt your mental health a little bit, which is why I recommend having a routine. Either doing the dishes right before you go to bed or first thing in the morning, so each day you have a closure of putting the dishes away. Same thing with laundry. I think a lot of people don't recognize how much laundry a small baby can produce, and so many times in postpartum, we find ourselves having to check away these tasks of keeping our home running, which is also part of the very first bucket I talked about when I spoke about the home systems and understanding how to offload each task so that you can truly stay put, stay stationary, and focus on caring for your baby throughout the days. I want you to know that it's really common for new parents, especially new moms, to struggle with sleep when you have a newborn. Newborns are noisy, they have disrupted sleep, and you may find that your hormonal shifts are just preventing you from getting into as deep of a sleep as you once did. This is not only normal and expected, it's biological because you are so connected to your baby, even when they're outside of your body, that your body knows to keep you somewhat alert when your baby is sleeping. But it's also temporary. So let me give you a little assurance that this will go away. Your baby will get quieter, they will start to sleep longer stretches, and your hormones will balance out so that you are able to achieve that deep sleep like you once did. I promise. My tip around this is if you're not able to sleep, at least rest. And I know that can feel unproductive to so many of us type A, always on the go, love to see the things checked off of our to-do list type girlies. But I really can't stress to you enough that if you are not resting your body is not going to be able to heal or make breast milk or replenish your mental health. One supplement that I love to recommend people consider when it comes to postpartum sleep is magnesium. Now, I personally also use this in pregnancy to help me sleep, but it can be really supportive of postpartum sleep as well. So be sure to look into it to see if it is aligned with you. Understanding the right type of magnesium is really important. There are so many types. I personally really love the Calm powdered magnesium. It comes in obviously a powder form, and you can put it in juice, water, tea, anything that you want, and drink it right before bed, which will help you sleep a little easier. Now, it's not sleeping medication, so you don't have to worry about it putting you to sleep deeply enough that you will miss your baby's cues or you'll sleep through them waking up. but it does help relax your body and your muscles and you mentally so that you're able to sleep a little bit easier. Magnesium is also really great for anxiety, which, if you find that that's what's keeping you up, that may be something to consider as well. All right, now on to your baby's sleep. And I want to let you know I have an entire 50-page guide to newborn sleep that is evidence-based. It's rooted in newborn biological development. So you're not going to find any harsh sleep training. You're not going to find any off-the-wall recommendations. Everything is based in biology. I actually explained to you why babies do certain things, why they need X amount of sleep at this particular age. How do we get your baby to sleep based on what their bodies need when it comes to support? I don't just put out do X, Y, and Z and it'll make your baby sleep, and then you find this shit's not making my baby sleep. You can rest assured that our newborn sleep solutions guide actually will make your baby sleep. You want to know why? Because it's not an approach that I made up. It is an approach that nature takes. I've broken down your baby's natural biological development into digestible chunks that you can understand, and I teach you exactly how to implement that into your home routines so that your baby is set up the absolute best they can be. Because you want to know what's not normal? Having a baby crying for hours and hours and hours and hours. Yeah, the witching hour. It's not normal. It's not biologically based and it's not natural. And it can be completely avoided. 99% of our clients never experience a witching hour at all. Ever, not once, because they are implementing our newborn sleep solutions guide from day one, from the day that their baby is born. I'm talking in the hospital. They are implementing biological support for their newborn's natural development. And if you can get ahead of the curve of an overtired baby, then you'll never experience a witching hour in your whole life. One thing that people don't realize about newborns is just how much sleep they need. They need a lot of sleep. Not only do they sleep a lot, but they sleep often. And so understanding biological wake windows as well is really important. So many programs out there and educational series out there around baby sleep will tell you that their wake window is 2 hours. And that is true for an older baby. But a newborn baby should not be awake for more than 45 minutes because their little bodies and their little brains just can't handle it. And they need a recharge sooner than 2 hours. If you're keeping your newborn up for 2 hours at a time, you're going to experience that witching hour. And so many people out on the internet streets want to convince you that that's normal and natural. And I'm here to tell you, I have a master's degree in human development, human development and family studies, and I want to tell you that is not normal. Babies are designed to sleep. Why? Because humans are designed to sleep. Sleep, food, shelter, sex. These are all things that are innately within us. We need these things to survive. They're animalistic. They are intuitive. So if your baby is not sleeping, there are absolutely tweaks that you can do to your home, to your routines, and to the way that you support your baby's body throughout the day and the night to help them sleep better. The final thing I will tell you is setting up their sleep environment is incredibly crucial. Not only that sensory input that I talked about earlier, but making sure that you have all of those other tools. The sound machine to protect their sleep, the blackout curtains to protect their sleep, and making sure that their wake windows are appropriate for their particular age. All right, you guys, that wraps up this episode of the Birth Lounge podcast. I think when a lot of people think about preparing for postpartum, they think about things like preparing your nursery or making sure that you have enough food in the freezer, or how are we going to manage visitors in the first few days, or what is the best bassinet that we can get. And while those things are important, I think preparing for postpartum is much, much deeper than that. Postpartum is a new you. You will not be the same person that you were when you went to have your baby, and you won't be the same person in a few months after you have your baby. Postpartum is a journey of constant evolution, constant learning, and constant reevaluating of what is best for you and your family and your baby at that particular time, while remaining open that at any given time that may change. It is truly such an honor to always be able to show up for you each week and to be on this journey with you. I really can't share enough how much I love this community and how much I love being able to educate you on your options so that you can have an easier pregnancy, an easier birth, and an easier postpartum. My goal is to help you enjoy this time, not just survive it. I want you to really thrive. I want you to get on the other end and say, that was fun. I loved becoming a mom, or I loved welcoming another baby into our family. If you had a rough time with previous babies or previous children, I want to let you know that it doesn't have to be that way this time. You can absolutely do things different, and I hope that this list helps you get started in doing just that. All right, you guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Be sure to follow me on social media. You can find me at Tranquility by HeHe and at the.birth.lounge. Until next time, head to your app store and download the Birth Lounge app for evidence-based childbirth education and data-driven postpartum support delivered straight to your phone. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I love hanging out with you, and it is an honor to be your go-to gal when it comes to preparing for your baby. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review and tell others why they should be listening to the Birth Lounge podcast too. You deserve to have a birth that you love with a provider that values your autonomy and respects informed consent without all the trauma that you so commonly hear about on social media. New episodes air every Wednesday and Friday. Hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. I'm HeHe, and this is the Birth Lounge Podcast.